On Saturday the 15th of June, in the open air of South London, under the Selhurst Park Stadium lights, it will quite literally be game on. It's a fight we've been looking forward to for a long time, much anticipated, ever since they first met 5 years ago, really. The rematch between Chris Billam-Smith and Richard Riakporhe for Billam-Smith's WBO World Cruiserweight title. And there's a very interesting undercard that will come with it as well. Johnny Nelson and Ben Shalom are with me. The press conference will be split into two. There'll be an undercard press conference, then we'll take a slight break, and then we'll do the top of the bill. But Ben, it's a great fight. It's a fight that everybody wanted. It's a fight that was ordered, but that doesn't mean that it's easy to get it over the line and get it made. You've done that, and you've got a great venue as well. You must be delighted.
It's a fight, as you said, that we've been waiting for a long time, and it sort of dragged and dragged. Main issue really was venues. Where could we put an event like this? Chris has boxed in Bournemouth the last 4 occasions, but 2 years ago Richard Riakporhe was our first signing when we joined Sky Sports, and we made a promise sort of that we would eventually get to Selhurst Park for a world title. It's one of those promises you make and you hope, but do you ever think you'll get there? Maybe not. We've got here, and it's a huge night. And I have to say, Chris Billam-Smith, a true world champion. He always takes the test. I remember when he joined us, 6 weeks later he was fighting Isaac Chamberlain. He then won his world title against probably the most feared cruiserweight in the world at the time in Lawrence Okoli. He's had 4 on the back-to-back in Bournemouth, and now comes to Selhurst Park in Richard Riakporhe's hometown. So a special occasion for British boxing. It's going to be a huge atmosphere in there, a festival-like atmosphere between two of our own, a rematch as well, 2 guys that know each other very well and fighting for a world title. You can't really ask for anything more.
He's absolutely right, isn't he? Because if you're a fighter, you put yourself in the shoes of either Billam-Smith or particularly Riakporhe, given that he's a Palace fan, to have an all-British fight for a world title in summer. The Euros are just starting, so everybody's got that kind of feel-good vibe about them. Outdoors at a stadium, it's... career-wise, it is the stuff that dreams are made of.
2 stories as well. You've got a champion that's willing to go into the backyard of the challenger, and not many fighters, not many champions are willing to do that. Not many champions are capable of doing that, and they want to travel abroad to do that. So this is baby steps. So in this defence, he's making a defence in Richard Riakporhe's backyard. Making a defence in Richard Riakporhe's backyard, he knows he's going to go in that place to boos, to jeers, to everything. Nothing's in his favour. As a champion, you've got to have the responsibility to be able to go in there, to get your job done, and get out of there as a champion. For Richard Riakporhe, on the other hand, I remember my first world title fight in Sheffield, City Hall, nowhere near a football ground. But what I'm saying is the pressure of he'll almost know everybody that's ringside, everybody that's in there. This is pressure before the bells even go. So he's got to think to himself, I've got to concentrate on that man there, not anybody that's in the crowd, not the pressure that everybody, all the expectation. I've got to get my job done. And in doing that, getting the job done, it's a different kind of pressure. He's got to make sure he's not complacent because he didn't 5 years ago. They're 2 different fighters now, 2 mature fighters now. So I'm happy the fight's going on. It's for my own belt. We filmed The Gloves Are Off yesterday, and it was interesting, intriguing.
What was it like?
It was good. I asked Chris if he's going to beat my record of defences, and he said, yeah, confidently, without a doubt. And I thought, all right, it's going to be a big shout, but I like that. So he's no intention of going in there and being second place.
I think, to be honest, when Okoli went into Bournemouth, it was that atmosphere. We've had to, as part of this deal, do a huge allocation for Bournemouth. I expect it to almost be a split crowd, if I'm honest. We know what Chris's fans are like. We are, and I've said it a couple of times, we are expecting 10,000 to come up from Bournemouth. So I think it's going to be one of those tribal atmospheres where it's, yes, Richard is the home fighter, but it's going to be hard to tell. I think Chris is going to bring a huge support.
I've got to say, Ben, I've got to say, going to Bournemouth, brilliant move, and this is part of the reason why I kind of want Chris to win, because I want to go back to Bournemouth. The atmosphere is ridiculous. You've got to bring another star through there, because it's somewhere we've never been before, a crowd we've never captured before. So to do that, I've got to commend you. But then I look at Richard, and I see what Richard's doing. I see how frustrated he's been. I see where he's at in his career. So I understand his story as well.
I think we had 3 cruiserweights, and it's one thing I've learned as a promoter. It's sometimes hard when you've got so many in the same division, all fighting for the same things. I think when you look back, Lawrence has earned a lot of money. He's not had the performances he wanted. He's still gone and got now his world title. He wanted to move up in weight. Richard's had to be patient. He gets his world title. And Chris Billam-Smith has come over and had 4 back-to-back home wins, become a world champion. I think they've all won. But we're going to see, obviously, on June 15th who's best out of Richard and Chris.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk some undercard, because we'll be announcing some fights at the press conference today, and you can fill us in now. Exciting plans for the undercard.
Yeah, Ben Whittaker returns, which is always exciting, and he's just kept so active. I think he fought, obviously, you know him well, Andy, and he fought in December, he fought in February, he fought in March, he'll now fight in June, and he'll continue to do what he does. I really expect that. Obviously, he's going in against someone now with 10 knockouts that we know he's going to come and take his head off. I actually think that will play into Ben's hands. I actually think we're going to see the very best Ben Whittaker when we have someone that's really is fired up and really wants to go in there and hurt him, and hopefully we'll see how he reacts to that. So that's another huge event. Obviously, Isaac Chamberlain returns. A lot of talk about where he was going to go. He fights for a European title in a huge fight, a fight that probably he's not the favourite in many people's eyes, a really tough fight. Another South London boy getting a homecoming for him as well. And then Caroline Dubois, I believe, will be announcing in the next couple of days. Dan Aziz, I expect to return. Fran Hennessy, who will announce today. It's a huge night on June the 15th, and a couple more big fights as well to announce in the coming days.
And you were out in America with Ben, weren't you? You took him over to NBC. You know, that's a great kind of thing that you're able to do for him at this stage of his career. I saw him actually the weekend before at the Senior Elite Finals, giving up his time to go there on the Saturday for no kind of reward other than the fact that it was something he wanted to do. He's just plugged into everything all of the time, isn't he?
He's so dedicated, but one thing that he's dedicated inside the ring, but he's dedicated outside the ring as well. He's always thinking, he's always scheming, he's always thinking about where he's going to be, how his profile is going to grow, and it's amazing as a promoter. All you have to do is, as you said, keep him active, give him the biggest platforms, whether that's on Sky Sports or on NBC. He's a superstar. You need to give him the biggest audiences. And one thing that stuck out to me while we were in New York, training 2-3 times a day, never missed a session, up early, training late, never misses a media commitment, and he's so locked in and he's so focused. So for all the showboating and everything that you see, this is a guy dedicated to his craft. Like, we've got 15-20 fighters. I'm struggling to say anyone works as hard as him. I really am. And it's exciting times for him. Obviously, fights here, then we're looking to headline in Wolverhampton, and then he wants to go and fight in the States on NBC, and they're unbelievably taken aback by Ben Whittaker. They never had an English fighter in 5 or 6 fights doing the numbers that he's doing for them as well. So he's in a great place, and he's a future superstar of the sport.
I don't think that nobody has ever questioned the dedication. Absolutely not. It's the other side of the coin with him. Possibly, it's the battle is trying to get him to take time off, trying to get him to kind of recharge and recuperate. Yeah. But he's a very exciting fighter to have on the scene for all sorts of reasons. And listening to how he strategises with regard to his own career for someone new to the programme, that's a good thing, isn't it? Because it rings alarm bells with me when I hear fighters say, well, I just leave all of that to my team, I just do the fighting. No. Get involved, have a say, because you need to, you're the captain of this ship ultimately, aren't you? And you need to know where it's going. And
I think consistency with fighters brings the best out in them. And now you're seeing the growth, the development of a fighter that there was big noise about him when he turned professional. Now we're seeing that. And he started off, it was kind of stop-start through injury, the frustration in and out. Now we're getting consistency. Now he's getting better as the fights are going on. Now the fans can get excited and follow his career, follow his path, see him when he's out there in the States. In the States, if we can have a Brit that goes on and then does what he does and shouts how he shouts and performs how he performs, they get behind them. We've seen that. Look back in history. Look at Prince Nassim Hamid. So once you capture that US market, that US imagination, but he's a Brit, nothing beats it, and that's when you get people mimicking you, and that's the best form of flattery. So for him to go out there and show that confidence, self-belief, and perform, and I know he works hard behind the scenes, I really do, and people don't get that, but he's able to evoke emotion to make people either love him or loathe him, which is a good thing, but he can do the job when the bell goes.
Okay, well, we need to let you go because everybody's taking their seats on the press conference table behind us. Isaac Chamberlain, Ben Whittaker, Andy Scott, who will be comparing proceedings. Ezra Arenyeka, Francesca Hennessy. Be ready to go in just a couple of minutes' time. And Isaac Chamberlain on the top table there, Johnny, as well. And this is a big night for him, because people are talking about fighting for the British title, defending the British title. He's gone one up against Sislak, who is a serious operator for the European. I'm glad. I'm so happy for Isaac. I've seen this young man from when he turned pro. People forget he used to be Deontay Wilder's sparring partner, you know, for years. And so he's no mug, he's no fool. He knows what he has to do, but it's about opportunity now. He no longer wants to be the guy that has to take second place. He wants to be a champion and go through it the traditional way. So going in there with a live fight in regards to his European title fight, it will show true depth, true self-confidence. So it's a good table. I like the table, and you know, seeing Francesca Hennessy on the end of the table, my favourite. Always been a massive fan of Francesca, and again, I want to see the excitement and growth of this young girl coming through. And of course, Ben's there, all smiles, looking all dapper. Be careful what you wish for. And now we've got it. Okay, well, let's hand over now to Andy Scott.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Andaz Hotel, which is pretty much rapidly becoming the home of boxers' press conferences, and delighted to say that we are ready to announce the undercard this morning or this afternoon before our main event press conference. Coming up after this, we will be having the main event press conference for Chris Billam-Smith and Richard Riakporhe, the WBO Cruiserweight title, live from Selhurst Park. But a quality main event deserves a quality undercard, and I think Boxer and Ben Shalom, as you look along this top table, we can all agree that we've got some pretty good star-studded names taking part on this undercard. I'll go straight to the fighters before I get a word from boxer promoter Ben Shalom. But just to introduce everybody one by one: Isaac Chamberlain, Ben Whittaker, Ben Shalom, Ezra Arenyeka. But first and foremost, Francesca Hennessy. Fran, great to see you. In addition to this card, the biggest stage and platform of your professional career to date. How welcome was that news when your dad told you?
Oh, it was amazing. You know, I'm so happy and excited to be on this bill. And what a card! It's going to be a very exciting night, and I'm very excited to show the supporters what I've been working on.
What do you plan to bring to the show?
What I plan to bring every time: excitement, exciting ring walk, and definitely a very exciting performance.
What have you gathered from the 3 fights that you've had so far? It's all a learning curve, it's experience. You are in almost that sort of unenviable position of doing all your learning in front of the cameras. How have you found it so far?
I found it amazing, you know, having these 3 fights. I've really learned a lot from them, and since my last fight I've had a bit of time to work on things, and I truly believe in my next fight you're going to see the best Fran Hennessy, and I'm also moving up to 8 rounds, so I think that is going to bring the best out in me.
I tease a little bit, but in terms of razzmatazz, star quality, what you like to do under the bright lights, including the ring walk and the skill set. You've got Ben Whittaker up here, who's probably the pound-for-pound king of ring walks in Britain at the moment. Have you got something up your sleeve that you've got waiting to unveil? Should Ben be worried about this one?
Sorry, Ben, you got a little bit of competition. No, I'm joking. But, you know, Ben's ring walks are amazing, and I'm definitely got a very good ring walk planned for everyone. So it's no fluke ring walk this time. It's planned. So.
And just finally, to box at a stadium, it is different. I hear fighters say, you know, it is different on the night. What are you expecting from the whole experience? Selhurst Park's not too far from home.
Oh, I'm expecting an amazing atmosphere. You know, I know every time my supporters come out, and it's going to be an amazing atmosphere, and I'm definitely going to put on a very good show for everyone. So I'm very excited, and yeah.
I think, Ben, we've enjoyed the progress of Francesca so far.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind, really. I think I've mentioned before, but Mick was telling me about her for a few years before she turned over, and then to see her have a debut like she had was pretty phenomenal. But I think the talent speaks for itself. Yes, the showboating, yes, the numbers on social media are different to a lot of girls in her division, but also a lot of other girls in the female sport. But it comes down to talent, and she is a phenomenal talent. I expect her to go all the way. She's got ambitions to unify the division. She's got ambitions to become a multi-weight world champion. I think she'll achieve it all, but it's about now giving her the platform to express herself obviously a stadium show very close to her hometown on June the 15th is a special occasion in her career.
Thank you, Ben. Let's go next to Isaac Chamberlain. Isaac, welcome. What an opportunity for you, the chance to become European champion. It's not supposed to be easy, and it won't be against a quality champion in Michal Cieślak. What are you expecting? What are you hoping, and what can we expect from you on the 15th?
Listen, on the 15th, it's going to be an amazing spectacle, man. You know, Cieślak is a great fighter, stepping up to European. He's top 3 or 4 in all of the governing bodies. This is like an elimination for a world title. And I'm grateful for the opportunity, man. Obviously, he can't be here today, so I got my little Cieślak face right here, and I'm going to crack him like the egghead that he is.
Just talk us through the decision-making process. You had options. What a social media storm we've had with the domestic rivals. Why this fight and why now?
Because he's the next step in my career. You know, I want to go for the European and the world title. I don't want to dibble around British level. You know, Shev and Vidal can fight each other, man, and do whatever the hell they're doing. I'm trying to be on bigger and better things. So, you know, it's going to be a great fight for this European title because he's going to come with everything. And I need to really be on point, you know, so I'm not really looking at them little fishes over there.
Of all the fights that were on the table, was this the most difficult?
Yeah, this is a much harder fight. This is definitely a much harder fight. He's had 10 more fights than me. He's boxed for the world title twice. He's a solid, strong Polish champion. He's going to bring a lot of Polish support as well, as he's done in the past in the UK. And I can't wait for this, man. It's going to be a massive fight.
If he was here, what would you say to him?
I'm going to crack him like an egg.
How do you beat him?
Just by being the best version of myself. You know, when it's time to box, I box. When it's time to fight, I fight. But it might get gritty in that ring. It might get crazy in that ring, and I might have to go blow for blow. And you know, who knows what might happen. But all I want to do is win and win emphatically and give the fans, the South London fans that's going to pull up to Selhurst Park, a great night to remember.
Just finally, before I let you go, you look at this domestic cruiserweight scene at the moment at world level, starting with Chris Billam-Smith and working its way down, which you're very much a big part of. Just how rewarding is it that you're near the top of that list? And do you think if you can get past Cieślak, you can get a shot at the winner of the main event or a world title shot of your own?
Yeah, definitely. I would love to have a world title shot of my own and then obviously unify against the winner. That's what we're in here for. You know, so Ben and Mick, let's do something after this fight, yeah. So yeah, man, it's good. It feels great to be such a part of such a big domestic cruiserweight division, and one day I will be on top of that.
Ben, it's a great fight to have on the card. You were catching a few strays with the negotiations in that social media storm, but to have this on the card, you've worked closely with Isaac through Hennessy Promotions. I think we're all looking forward to it. Style-wise, should be a very, very good fight. Yeah,
very good fight. You have to admire Isaac. I think we know there were easier options out there for him. I think to take on Cieślak, who is a very, very experienced fighter, been at world level before, fighting for the European title, just shows where he's at in his career. He wants to go right to the top. He's got an eye on Richard Riakporhe and Chris Billam-Smith. He wants to be fighting for world titles. He knows what that's going to take, and so he wanted to take the toughest test and the biggest title, and that's his decision. You have to commend him for that. It's an extremely tough fight. I think he could steal it on the night. I think it's going to be an unbelievable fight. I
nearly bit because everyone was looking at the purse bids, and I was up on the phone to Mick, to Bobby, saying, should we just put in a bin and just fight this guy? Should we just do it? Should we just fight Shev? Because I saw the Twitter stuff, and I was like, you know what? Let me do it. But they calmed me down and said, listen, don't let the ego get in the way. Because obviously it wasn't Ben's decision. I know everyone's getting at it saying it was Ben's decision. No, it was our decision to be like, you know what, let's look for bigger things and let's not hang around with those guys over there. Let's go up for bigger things. So just want to get that out there.
Okay, well, I look forward to that fight of part of this terrific undercard, which brings us to our next two fighters at the top table. Welcome back, the African King, Ezra Arenyeka. probably in more comfortable surroundings. I mean, you made an impression, that is fair to say. Whether or not we all thought that we'd be in this position just a few months ago when you made your point at the Wardley Clark press conference, is it a case of now you've got to back it up? You've got your wish. You get to fight the surgeon Ben Whittaker. How happy are you that this is all done and dusted and you get to settle this in the ring?
First of all, I just want to quickly say thank you to everyone. Thank you to Sky. Thank you to Boxer for the opportunity. And special thanks to Oluwafemi and Anthony Joshua for inspiring me 8 years ago to pick up a boxing glove. Now we're here. And also special thanks to Belen. Yeah, we're here now and it's time to go. You know, Ben Whittaker has shown he's a warrior and accepted my challenge. I get crowded at the press conference, I made it happen, now we're here. So the fans are in for a treat. It's going to be a great night of boxing, and this is what boxing is about. This is what legacy is about. You know, you got to challenge yourself, you got to compete. I'm still a novice in the game, but I'm here fighting an Olympian, a silver medalist. How more daredevil can you get? So yeah, I'm here to show how great I am. I'm here to put in the work. And yeah, man, I hope he comes in ready. And yeah, it's going to be a great night of boxing.
So why him? Why Ben Whittaker? There's a lot of light heavyweights out there. Could have picked anyone. Why go after Ben Whittaker? Yeah,
my career has been self-made one, I would say. My last fight was in Colombia. I was fighting in a village in Colombia. So for me, I said, okay, what next? I didn't want to come back to England fighting in smaller shows, and I needed to fry the biggest fish on the test myself. And who else than Mr. Olympian, Ben Whittaker. So yeah, here we are, and I said, let's go. And I know to bring great attention to me and propel my career. And the British boxing fans now know me, and I'm here to put in the work, back it up, and show what I'm made of and show how great I am.
So do you rate him or do you not rate him?
Of course I rate him. He's an Olympian. Of course I rate him. He's been doing it since he was a kid. He's a great boxer. It's not going to be an easy fight for me. It's going to be the hardest fight, probably one of the hardest I've faced throughout my career. You know, but I'm going to be ready for it. I'm training hard for it, day in, day out. And yeah, man, the best man on that night is going to be me, and I'm going to win.
So have you seen something in him that you think is a weakness or that you can capitalise on? What makes you so confident that you can beat him?
Because he's a man, he plays like me. That's it, yeah.
Well, let's give Ben a chance to respond to a couple of those things. I wonder, when you sat at that press conference for Wardley Clark, you're going to have to get used to this, I think, Ben. You're going to be a big old target on those shoulders. What was your reaction at the time when Ezra made his point, and why now?
It's one of those things. I'm getting to a position where people are going to start doing these things. You ask them, why did you want me? You know, there's many things. The clout, of course. But I'm going to make an example of him June 15th. That I'm not going to let people keep running up in these press conferences and getting these fights, so this will be the last one.
Do you know anything about him, or did you know anything about him before the press conference?
I was watching Coming to America yesterday, and I'm sure I've seen him in there.
He said a number of things there, but we had him on the podcast yesterday, and he's not particularly a fan of the Ben Whittaker package. Is that fair to say?
Well, you know, when he was in the press conference with a whole heap of security guards, he was giving it mouth. When he's on your podcast, whole heap of mouth. And now he's on that mic. I respect him. Keep that same energy June 15th.
Bro, I want you to keep that same energy. I just say respect. I respect your boxing. I don't respect you as a person.
Yo, I let
You're
you
a sport kid.
I let you talk.
You're a
Simmer
sport
yourself
kid,
down.
Yeah, man. Don't tell me keep that energy, man.
Listen,
bro,
simmer yourself down.
The energy is here. The energy ain't gone nowhere, bro.
Back to what I was saying.
Yeah, keep talking.
I've not took any of my opponents serious, and there's no disrespect to them. But this kid, I'll take him 10% serious. That's all I need is 10%.
No problem. Come with the 10%,
when you see
boy.
That, you'll see.
Come with the 10%. I'll show you what I'm made of, man.
Listen, big man, simmer yourself down.
Listen, you ain't been no fire than me before.
Huh?
You ain't been no fire than me before.
Yo, you got a Rubik's Cube head, and your body's built like a beanbag.
That's what I'm saying. You're so shallow. You're so shallow. You're so Rubik's Cube head. Come on, grow up.
Listen, man, you need subtitles because nobody can hear you.
You're a kid.
You're
a child. You're a sport kid.
Yeah, just let me interject there for 1 second. One thing about being one of the best amateurs in the world is that you go around the world twice, you see everything once. everybody says you've never seen a style like mine, but do you believe that you have seen every style that there can be?
I've seen his style.
Boxed an Ezra Arenyeka before?
When I was probably 7 years old. That's what skill level he's got, and I'm going to show that.
All right, no problem. We're going to see on June 15th, right?
I don't know what he's saying, man. I don't know what he's saying.
Yeah. I don't know what he's saying.
I have no clue what Sonic the Hedgehog's saying.
Yeah, quiet, keep quiet.
I mean, because I saw
little kid,
keep quiet.
You
Shut the fuck up, keep quiet. Like Sonic the
Yeah.
Why are you getting nervous, man?
I ain't getting nervous,
your
bro.
blood pressure's getting high, man. Dry mouth and everything. Take a sip of your water and
calm down. Take a sip, bro.
I did as well. Good boy.
Yes. The water tastes so good.
I can't hear you, man.
Refreshed now. Let's go. Keep talking.
Okay,
keep
great,
talking.
Great.
Is it a case of be careful what you wish for?
Of course.
There's going to be a queue of people, obviously. Everybody wants to be the first man to beat Ben Whittaker. It's almost about that belt, the belt of beating Ben Whittaker. Presumably you're pretty comfortable with that. It's not something that's new to you.
That's what I like. That's what gets me up in the morning. Like, you know, I got up at 7 in this morning and trained. I know he didn't. I did 3 sessions yesterday. I know he didn't. Because you're at your podcast, humming and ahhing, trying to get the clout. The lifestyle's different. You talk it, I live it, and you'll see.
Bro, no problem. Yeah, you live it, bro. We're going to see on June 15th, innit? It's not too long. 7 weeks to go. Yeah, we're going to be there, innit? So everyone's going to see. No one's going to see.
I've already been in camp.
I'm going to
look ridiculous.
Yeah, bro, no problem. Say what you want to say, man. Yeah, so I've been training for 8 years non-stop, so I don't know what you're looking at. I've been in camp.
When I hit you with a couple of jabs.
Oh, yeah, man. You're in for a shock, boy. I'm going to shock
you. I've seen your fight footage. I won't be in a shock.
All right.
Let's
you know what? Quickly, yeah. You talking so much. Yeah.
I'll let you talk. What are you talking?
No, let me talk. Let me say something.
And I've seen that you changed your chain from the Amazon chain. You got them. What's that? Them beads. You made that yourself. That's cute.
I made it myself. You don't know about this, bro.
That's cute.
As a coach about this,
yeah, that's cute, man. Hey, after this, we'll buy you a chain and a watch to say thanks for taking the fight.
You're so shallow, man. See what I'm saying? Look at where your mind is. The chain on your watch. Is that why you do boxing? To buy a chain on your watch?
I do it to change my family's life. I do it to change my family's life.
It doesn't sound like that, but
I do it to change my family's life.
Two watches on Instagram and bro,
the biggest Cartier, diamonds.
You're lost soul, bro.
BVS.
You're lost, and that's what I'm going to beat you. That's why I'm going to beat you, man.
Let's defuse it for a second and bring in Ben Shalom. It's a fight that feels like it came out of nowhere. I think both of us sat at that press conference panicking a little bit. Closest that we've had to the Conor McGregor. No disrespect to you, but who is this guy? Now he's here, and he's made his...
Now you know me, mystery man.
Exactly right.
Ezra Arenyeka. Let's go, champ.
Beetlejuice.
Now he's here. What can we expect on fight night? I think you're going to have to get used to this. Everybody is going to want to call out Ben Whittaker.
Yeah, look, it's happening. It was happening after his first 3 or 4 fights. I think it's just good for someone like Ezra, who's coming, who's extremely confident, and who wants to take Ben's head off. For me, it's gonna walk straight into what Ben Whittaker's all about. But this is what Ben needs. He wants the big stages. He wants an opponent that's coming. A lot of opponents lose before they even get in the ring with Ben Whittaker. I'm hoping Ezra won't. I'm hoping he's going to come with everything that he's been talking, and we're going to see him come out explosive, and we'll see a great fight. But this is what it's about, and it prepares everyone. It prepares Ben for the big stages, because he's going to have a whole lot of fighters wanting to take his head off, and this will be the first of many.
Okay, well, has anybody got anything else they want to add before we wrap this press conference up? I don't want anybody to feel that they haven't been given a chance to speak. Ben, are you happy?
Sizzler. Maybe not.
Oh dear. Anybody on this side? Fran, you're happy?
I don't think he speaks English.
Sweet, bro.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Are we going to pose for head-to-heads now and then stay around? Yeah, we're going to pose for head-to-heads now. If everyone at the front can stay down so everyone can get their shot, then everybody is going to be available for one-to-ones. So make sure you join us in about 15-20 minutes' time for the main event press conference. Thank you very much.
So that was interesting, Johnny. The back and forth between Whittaker and Arenyeka. What I find particularly intriguing about that whole dynamic, and we'll ask Whittaker when he comes up here to speak to us, is that the position he's in, he's going to get people chasing him. They want to fight him. The rewards for them are obvious, and for him that's a good position to be in. But at the same time, he does seem to find it, and I understand it, slightly irritating that somebody can just gate crash a press conference like they did last time, say a lot of things, and all of a sudden they're in a ring with him. How would that sit with you?
This is why he said this is the last time something like this will happen. I'm going to make an example of this man. And that showed his frustration about it. You know, someone can't just walk up there. I've got a job to do. I've got a career to work on. Now you're letting this guy come in and gate crash. So he wants people to think twice about doing that. This is why he's probably going to try and make an example. One thing Ben was bang on about is how Arenyeka is approaching it. If he wants to rush and really put it on him, then you'll see how good Ben really is. You'll see the skills, you'll see everything about him, because he needs people that want to fight him confidently, such as his last opponent. Went in there, tried as hard as he possibly could, and Ben's skill was far too much for him. Arenyeka now, you know, this fight will be intriguing because he's strong, he's confident, has self-belief. He's done what he has to do to get in this position. And this is young fighters. If you want to do something about yourself, if you're being ignored, unfortunately, like it or not, that's what you've got to do.
Well, neither of them wants to break the stare here. I always feel like a nice piece of A4 paper is handy here if you're one of the security guys. You could slide it in between them and break that stare, but neither one of them wants to look away at the moment. He's 12-0, Arenyeka, 10 knockouts. It's very difficult to know how good he is off the back of that record, but he's certainly confident. And it's not the whole battle, but it's a part of the battle. And it's good for Whittaker to have somebody facing him who will come there genuinely believing that he can win.
And someone that boils his blood. You know, he's seen somebody that's trying to steal his show, so he wants that. He needs this kind of stuff, and you know, he's getting it from his fan base. You know, Ben's rattled. No, he's upset. Not rattled. He's upset that someone has, as far as he's concerned, at this level, you know, fancies the job. So now, you know, you'll hopefully see a vicious side of it.
Yeah, I think there's every chance of that. Okay, well, he's just very nimbly hopped onto the stage to join us. Ben, good to see you. Let's get you in the middle. So I was just saying to Johnny there, the position you're in, and it's a product of a lot of hard work to get you there, is that people will always want to fight you. And it's a good position to be in, because that just is a good position to be in. But at the same time, it does seem to irritate you slightly that somebody could just gate crash a press conference and get a fight with you.
Oh, of course, because I've came through watching boxing, I thought you worked your way through the ranks, beat the people you're supposed to beat, get the belts, where, as of now, today's day and age, is walk through them doors, do that, and you get a fight. And like I said up there, I'll fight him, good record, good kid, but I'm going to make an example to not start doing that, because if I do that, they'll all start doing it. We'll have about 30 of them queuing up.
And Ben, that's what I kind of sense. I think I kind of sense this guy got under your skin only for that reason at all.
Of course,
that he actually, you've got to be dealing with this kind of stuff. That's why he said this will never happen again.
Of course, you know what? Fair play to him. He came from Africa. This is his opportunity. He's fighting for himself, his family. I understand it and I appreciate it. But from a boxer like me who's worked from 7 years old and worked through the rankings, should I just throw that out the window and just start running into press conferences? And that's what I'm going to show. We do things properly. You go through the ranks, and there's levels for a reason.
What's been key the last, well, by the time you get in the ring, it'll be 6-7 months. You box December, you box February, you box March, and then again mid-June, and that was what was missing, wasn't it? Due to injury, really. Momentum is absolutely key.
Yeah, 100%. I think when you're under those lights, it's just something about it, you know, the atmosphere, having a referee, don't get referees in spar and things like that. I'm just picking up things each night, and the more active I am, the more better I am.
I was going to say, do you think because you're more consistent, because you're out a lot more, I know you train like a madman behind the scenes. I know what people see out front is part of your job. But because you're publicly getting the consistency in your career, that's making people see how good you are, developing you as a fighter, and getting you exactly where you want to be as a fighter.
Yeah, the main thing is, like you said, is developing myself as a fighter. And it's just the little things, going to a weigh-in, doing a press conference, getting your hands wrapped, having things like that where opponents talking and coming to fight. Those things hold you in good stead for when you're in the big fights, and I'm very thankful that Sky and Boxer are providing that.
In terms of things outside of the ring, you are a very, what I would describe, kind of modern fighter. Yeah. In years gone by, the relationship between athletes and teams, sometimes it's felt like the athlete isn't really in charge and they kind of do what they're told, whereas these days I do feel like it's different. because ultimately everybody works for the athlete. You know, you're the captain of that ship, and you've got to have at least one hand on that wheel, and that's very much how you are.
100%. Sometimes I forget I am my own boss, if I'm honest. But my main job is, and why I got here, is hard work. Like I said up there, this morning I was running. Yesterday I did 3 sessions. The glitz and the glam. And I do that for a reason, for these cameras. People like it, people love it, people hate it. But the real me is a worker. 24/7 I work.
I think, in a way to kind of answer that, Andy, I think there's not many fighters that are such a valuable commodity that can actually take hold of their own career, because they're on the beg, they're asking a promoter to look after, and they're asking the manager, they're begging him. Whereas at the moment it's the other way around. Managers and promoters are chasing him, so he can pick and choose. This is how my career is going. But most fighters, most of us, at some point we've got to hope for somebody to do us a favour. So Ben's in a unique position. I gather you're now a free agent. You can manage your own career, direct it how you want. That's how it should be. But unfortunately, boxing is now being disguised as a business. Now the fighters now, like Ben, like Ryan Garcia, they're the guys that are ruling their rules. They're the guys that are the boss of them. They're the guys that are saying, this is what's going to happen. If you don't like it, I have other options. This is how it should be. And this is, as an ex-fighter, I like seeing this. I like fighters actually saying, you work for me. Eddie, you work for me. Frank, you work for me. Ben, you work for me. That's what I'm behind the fighters.
You're the one getting punched.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And these are the guys that when the career's over, nobody cares. So I love this. I love this situation.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time. We will see you again soon, I'm sure.
We're friends now as well.
Yeah, of course. Look, I saw you at the seniors a couple of weeks ago. He was at the Senior Elite Finals, giving up his Saturday, just because he wanted to. You commit to the next generation coming through. I know that.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
We'll catch you down the road.
Maybe fight week when I'm making weight again. I'll have another go at
Well, you're welcome anytime to bring anything to my door.
Thank you.
Yeah, we talked about it. We talked about it before he came over, Johnny, and he is very much a modern athlete. And you look at some of the fighters we cover regularly. You look at the likes of Caroline Dubois, for example, is another good example of a fighter who's come through, who's now really finding her voice and really taking just more control of her own message, of her own kind of journey, of what she wants to say to people. Chris Billam-Smith, who's just disappearing off the left-hand side of the stage there. He's kind of, he's another one. Adam Azim would be a good example of another one, but I will interrupt that train of thought because we've got Ezra. Ezra, come and join us in the centre here.
Thank you.
Ezra Arenyeka, great to see you.
Great to see you too.
So just tell us all a little bit about yourself, about your boxing background, and about how when did this idea first come to you that turning up at the press conference might be the way forward, might result in you being here?
So I started boxing 8 years ago because I saw Anthony Joshua boxing and he inspired me, and I started doing it for charity to help raise money for charity through White Collar. And here we are today. For me, it's it's a blessing indeed, and I'm highly humbled and I'm grateful for it. On the press conference, so I was just thinking to myself, what can I do to get on this level, on this stage, to become, to propel my career, to take myself to the next level? And I said, okay. Ben Whittaker, light heavyweight, in the same category, is not too big now of a superstar. So I knew it would take the fight. I said, no, what can go viral? What can create attention? How can I build this fight up? And I did what I did. And it was a bit nerve-wracking, but I believe it's only divine intervention. And here we are today, and it's happening on June 15th.
So this isn't personal. This is business.
It's getting a bit personal now.
It's getting personal, intentionally.
Intentionally is business, but now it's getting a bit personal. He's talking about buying me a new chain, which is a very shallow mindset, in my opinion. Because we fighters, he has no respect for fighters. That's why he can say he's going to buy me a new chain and stuff like that. That's shallow, man. We do this to make a living, to help change people's life, to help our families. Obviously, for him, he does it for flashiness, to look good on Instagram, taking his a rapper and that. But yeah, I'm here to discipline this poor child.
You know what, before you walked on, Andy and myself were talking about fighters taking control of their own destiny. So you're at the other end of the scale where Ben has been in a position where promoters they're fighting over him.
Yeah.
You've got to fight to get yourself in that position to do stuff like gate crashing, which I rate, and I've told you it's not a secret. I rate that because I love fighters actually doing that, controlling their own, somehow getting control of their destiny and getting yourself in a position. You've got exactly what you wanted, and I'm quite sure nobody put you up to that. That wasn't a setup.
No, that wasn't.
And everybody thinks it was a setup.
It's like I've got what I wanted, and in life, this is for everyone out there. When you want something, you have to go for it. You just have to believe in yourself. I believe in myself. That's why I'm here today. If I didn't believe I could beat him, I would not do it. You get what I'm saying? So I'm here. I'm here to prove a point. I'm here for the underdogs. I'm here to set him straight for all the showboating and disrespectfulness is shown in the ring. And that's what I'm going to do on June 15th.
So how would you describe yourself as a fighter? If you were to describe to the audience now what kind of boxer you are, what would you say?
I'm an all-round fighter. I can do everything. I can dance like Muhammad Ali. I can come forward like Marvin Hagler. So, but the thing is, they don't know me, and I'm highly underrated. The British boxing fans, they don't rate me right now because they don't really see much of me because I fought, 5 different countries. I've not really fought in England, but just one professional fight here. But the thing is, I'm schooled here. I've learned all my boxing in England. All my coaches.
Whereabouts in England?
I did my amateur clubs in Attleborough Boxing Club in Norwich. Yeah, I was training to be with Graham Everett, with the Welsh brothers back in the day, and now I'm here in Manchester training with former world champion Anthony Furnell. So I've got a vast experience of great coaches behind me, and I've got a great coach behind me. I'm aspiring best stablemate right now is Jimmy Kelly. So I'm in great hands, and as I don't think Ben Whittaker understands what he's getting himself into. He thinks I'm a very bad fighter. But it's okay. On June 15th, I'll show the world how great I am and what I'm made of.
I mean, those are a good couple of gyms to be in. Anthony Farnell, Graham Everett, those are good coaches. They've been around some good fighters. And
man.
Sometimes, however much you tell yourself that you're not going to take somebody lightly, it can always happen.
I was actually going to say that to Ben. These might be words. I don't think Ben is silly enough to actually disrespect him to the point where I'm going to take him lightly and I'm only going to give him 10%, because he's got to value his career a lot more than that. I believe this is the first opponent for Ben that's actually done what he's done, stepped up and got onto his face and said, I want some of this. I'm coming to win.
I want the smoke.
He's got an unbeaten record, so he wants the smoke, but he's made a public display of himself there, which means if you lose, you're going to look bad. No man wants to put himself in that position. So believe me, Ben's going to work hard to get this job done, to make sure this thing doesn't happen again. This young man here is working hard to say, I want what you've got. And so Ben's in the hunted position, not the hunter. He's used to hunter trying to get to world title. He's now the hunted. And if you know what you're hunting, you know what you're focusing on, you know what you're working towards, like this young man is, it makes you more dangerous. So who's the danger man out of these two? He's the danger man. It is dangerous for Ben because Ben believes he's above this level, but sometimes you're going to think, right, I need to be totally professional and get this job done. Otherwise, you'll make a mistake like Tyson Fury did against Ngannou. He disrespected the opponent that was in front of him, thought it was an easy job. Ben's got to respect him. I believe he will.
Okay, well, thanks for your time. It's really good to meet you, Ezra. Looking forward to seeing you during fight week. The top table is ready. Chris Billam-Smith, Ben Shalom, Andy Scott and Richard Riakporhe. It's a pair-down top table. Usually there's all sorts of people up there, but we just got the key constituent players. Andy, over to you.
Welcome back to the Andaz Hotel. Just a quick one, if you are conducting any interviews, if you just pause them just while we conduct the main event press conference, or take them outside, just so you give the fighters your full attention. Well, thank you everybody for coming down to the Andaz here today. Obviously the news has been out there a week or so already, and quite rightly you can see how well it's been received just by the media attendance itself. It's now one of the showcase summer events on June 15th. Chris Billam-Smith will enter the Lion's Den, or in this case the home of the Eagles, to defend his WBO Cruiserweight World title against the Midnight Train and Crystal Palace fan Richard Riakporhe, live on Sky Sports from Selhurst Park. Just to add to the drama, it's a rematch. These two will run it back 5 years after Richard took home a split decision. The only man to beat Chris Billam-Smith the only man to drop Chris Billam-Smith, albeit one that's still debated to this day. What better way to settle any lingering arguments than to do it all over again? It's also 100 years since the official opening of Selhurst Park, and a percentage of every ticket sold will be donated to the Palace for Life Foundation, the official charity of Crystal Palace Football Club, which has been working with the community for over 25 years, helping young people grow through the power of sport, inspiring them to find a better path in life and to lead a healthier life. Ben Shalom, it took a long time, I think. It's a fight that's been talked about almost 4 or 5 years. But since Chris captured that WBO, I think all eyes have been on this fight. Will it happen? Can it happen? And now it is happening on June 15th. How delighted are you that it was able to get over the line?
Yeah, hugely delighted. I think it's the biggest domestic fight in the cruiserweight division. It's a huge fight. Chris has been a huge success story for boxer, probably the biggest success story. Becoming world champion, fighting in his hometown, 4 back-to-back wins. And Rich has been with us right from the very start, and now they both get this huge opportunity. I thank Steve Parish. He's been brilliant. Crystal Palace. Everyone wants to create something historic, momentous in the summer for British boxing, for sport, for the Palace for Life Foundation. It's going to be a festival atmosphere, and topped off by a huge fight, a great fight, a rematch, a world title. It's got absolutely everything, and I have to thank both guys, particularly Chris Billam-Smith, who's always taken the hard fights. I remember signing him, and 6 weeks later he was fighting Isaac Chamberlain. He now defends his world title for the 2nd time in South London at Richard Riakporhe's Crystal Palace. That's what champions are made of, and it's an unbelievable fight to get over the line, and what will be a huge spectacle on June the 15th.
Well, welcome to both fighters, Richard and Chris. I will come to the champion first. Worked very, very hard to win that belt, Chris, and every challenge, say the same thing, you're going to be desperate to keep hold of it. This has got a different dynamic to it, though, a rematch in Selhurst Park, so you will walk to the ring in enemy territory, not in Bournemouth. Just how are you feeling with all of that?
Yeah, it's another football stadium for me. I had a special night last year. To be honest, we did try to obviously get it at the football stadium at Bournemouth again, but I'm quite glad it's not. It gives me more motivation going into the Lions Den, and that gives me that buzz and gives me that what makes a camp even more enjoyable.
What difference does it make to you emotionally with it being a rematch? You two have shared 10 rounds already. What is the different dynamic, if there is one?
No different dynamic. I guess any fighter's going to want to avenge a loss, and I'm grateful that I get that opportunity. That's what all the greats through history, if they've lost, they're going to want to avenge it, and that's what they do. So I'm glad that I get to do that.
Richard, do you have any thoughts on that? The fact it is a rematch, is it any different to you this time around? And the fact that you do hold the victory, does that mean anything to you when you approach this fight?
Well, I think it gives me a little bit of a psychological edge, because I've known, I know that I've beat him before, but at the same time, I don't like to rest on past victories. I believe every single day a new demand is demanded of you, and that's for you to step up, train hard, and things change. If you rest on past victories, it could cloud your judgment and make you underperform. It will give you a false sense of security. So obviously we're definitely not going to do that against Chris Billam-Smith. He's come on leaps and bounds. He's took the traditional route, which I respect. He's become world champion, and now it's my time to take that from him.
You talk about psychological edge there. How important will it be that it is at Selhurst Park? It effectively is on your territory, but there's two sides to that. There's also the weight of an expectant crowd. There is also the pressure of wanting to deliver for your home fans.
I always think about my story, my background, how long it took me to get here, all the adversities and the trials and tribulations I had to overcome to get to this point. I have a lot of other things that I need to to focus on, and not just that, but just the amount of people that I inspire all over the world because of my story and things that I've been through. And I'm pretty much a reference of hope to all of those. So I put pressure on myself in that regard. And of course, we want to perform for the crowd at the same time. But yeah, this I think is bigger than a lot of things.
There isn't a huge amount of bad blood here, but when you came on Sky Sports last week, you said if I see some comments on social media, it'll be in 3. If I see some funky footwear at the press conference, it'll be in 2. So have you had a look at his footwear?
I haven't had a chance to look at Chris's footwear. I don't know, Chris, you want to show me what you have on?
You can see him on June 15th when you're on the canvas. You'll be nice and close.
Are you going to be wearing shoes, though? I don't think you are.
Well, they're boots. It's a form of footwear, yeah.
Okay. We're going to see for sure, but I think it's going to be your demise on the 15th for sure.
How are you sleeping at night, Chris? Because I think he used the Freddy Krueger line there that he'll be haunting you in your nightmares as you approach this one. How are you sleeping?
Sweet dreams. As always, I always look after my sleep very well. It's important to me, and so much so I've made sure my son's sleeping well now as well. So. It makes it easier on the weekend, so sleep is all good, thank you.
Don't worry, he's going to get all the sleep he needs on the 15th after I knock him out. Bring your pillow.
Let me ask...
That's Isaac's line, mate. Isaac used that about 4 years ago. You're way too late.
Well, this is my line.
As per usual with trains.
Chris is the champion, by right. One of his great attributes, alongside many others, is his toughness. But do you believe that you possess the power to knock him out? I mean, it's a great line at a press conference, but do you fundamentally believe that you will win this fight by knockout?
You know what? That's my key attribute. You know, just like Chris has his attribute of being a tough man and having a chin, my attribute, which is what I understand now, is power. And I'll always bring power to the fights. I land a shot, he will be in trouble. If he's not knocked out, he's going to be in very big trouble. And now I'm more experienced, and I know what I'm doing, and I know how to take people and take people out and finish a fight off.
Has he made a fatal error there, Chris, that there's a lot more to Chris Billam-Smith than just being tough? Being tough doesn't win fights?
It helps win fights, for sure. And I'm sure I'll have to be tough again in this fight. But as always, that's Richard's shot. He's got a puncher's chance.
Outside of that, if he doesn't find that shot, do you believe that panic could set in?
I don't know what his... If he panicked, but he won't win the fight. He's not going to win the fight either way, but that's all he's got is a puncher's chance.
Our team's been very coy, but we are giving it the full build-up, and a Gloves Are Off has been filmed, but there is one little clip already doing the rounds about deterioration. He believes that since the first fight that you have deteriorated. What's your response to that?
Allow him to believe what he wants. If you're asking me if I believe I've deteriorated, absolutely not. I'm getting better every day in the gym, and it's other people, especially Richard's thoughts, don't matter. You know, me and my team know what's got to be done and what I'm capable of, and where I'm at in my career and the development and everything like that. So it's on an upwards curve, upwards trajectory, and that's all that matters.
Is that a true statement?
Yeah, that's definitely a true statement, and a lot of boxing people would agree with me. Boxing is wear and tear on the body, and it's a fact. We deteriorate over time, and some people deteriorate faster, depending on how much damage you take. And we all seen Chris's fights. He's always in grueling fights, takes a lot of shots. You know, Shane's always saying, move your head. You're taking too much shots. You're making mistakes. Don't take them silly shots. And every single shot that you take, it takes a toll on the body. It's a fact. It's science. And I've seen CBS deteriorate in that regard. And a lot of other people would agree with me. So, you know, I've seen it, and I don't want to mention no names. We've seen guys that are tough, and we believe they have the chin and the capabilities to take damage, but once you keep on knocking on the glass, you know, and you get that crack, then, you know, it just takes a little bit of a shot with some accuracy, shatter the whole thing, and that's what I feel like is going to happen to CBS on that night.
A question to both of you. I don't mind who goes first. Chris, you might want to go first, but since that first fight, who do you think has improved the most?
Me, and I've shown it. My career's been much better than Richard since that. I've gone and beaten a world champion who never looked close to getting beat. Defended it, had more meaningful fights in between. No one can argue with that. Yeah.
Nobody can argue with that. Will you argue with that?
He's done really well. I'm definitely not going to argue with him achieving. I believe he overachieved for sure, and we're back at the crossroads. We're back at a level playing head. So we're going to see on the night who prevails.
Johnny Nelson used a great line earlier on Sky Sports from a man that's been there and seen it and done it. When he walked to the ring and was in the ring during his first world title fight, he felt imposter syndrome. He felt that deep down he shouldn't be there. I put it to you now, do you believe boxing's about timing and you've done what you need to do to get yourself in this position and you believe that you are in the right place at the right time?
100%. And it's not like I haven't seen Chris Billam-Smith or I haven't shared the ring with him. I've done 10 rounds with him. I've taken the win in the past. So even though he's champion, it doesn't.
I thought that didn't matter. I thought the past fight didn't matter.
What's that?
You said earlier the past fight didn't matter.
I'm just stating the facts.
No, but you said it didn't matter. Now you're bringing it up.
Well, I'm just stating the facts.
Don't contradict yourself.
You asked me a question, and I'm answering the question.
Yeah, but you shouldn't contradict yourself.
So
Richard.
listen
It's
to
not
when you're spoken to. So I've beaten before, and I've done it before. He's at a camp, I've had a camp, and I've come away with a W. So even though he's champion and that's his status, it doesn't mean anything. He's just the same opponent that I beat in the past. And I reckon I'll do a better job when it comes to us fighting again on the 15th.
Chris, do you mind if I ask about domestic fights? As champion, you want to collect belts from the other world champions. You've got your eye on unifying belts, got your eyes on big away days, potential Vegas away days for the Cherries fans, the Saudi fights out there, and with one eye on Jai Apataya and his business. But at the same time, nothing quite stirs the emotions like a domestic fight. I think I'm probably going back 3 years ago. I remember you saying to me, being involved in domestic fights is what really gets people going. As you sit here now with that belt, having to defend it against Richard Riakporhe in a stadium, does it really get much better than that? You've spoke long and hard about it's going to be impossible. It physically isn't possible to beat that Bournemouth night. But nights like this could come pretty close.
Yeah, for sure. The big domestic world title fights is what everyone wants to see. If you're a British boxing fan, a British fighter, they're the fights you want to be involved in. They're the fights you want to see. And this is the last one for me. Richard's sort of the last one of the current group we've got that I haven't boxed that are up at world level. And I've just got to, I've got to get over the line with this one, and then we move on to, deal with the mandatory, and then we go on to unify against, hopefully against Zerda Ramirez in America. That'd be phenomenal, and that's the next dream.
The same question to you. You've had domestic fights before. I mean, you've had one against Chris Billam-Smith, for goodness sake. But to do it with a world title between two British rivals, it's difficult to think of a time where the British cruiserweight division, the domestic cruiserweight division, was so deep and so entertaining with so many potential fights. You're going to get a chance to win a world title. To do it against a domestic rival, does it just give it that extra percentage, makes it that extra bit special?
Yeah, it does. It does make it special. Everybody's seen what's been going on with the boxing landscape these days. A lot of the big fights that the fans want to see are taking place on foreign land. So finally, we get a stadium show for a world title.
We had one last year.
Pardon?
What do you mean finally? We had one last year.
Pardon? Say again?
You just said finally we get a world title fight at a stadium.
Yeah.
What do you mean finally? We've already done it. I did it last year.
I'm talking about a domestic fight.
It was Lawrence Okoli at a stadium. That's domestic.
Say again?
That's Lawrence Okoli at a football stadium. That is a domestic fight.
I'm talking about with me involved in a domestic fight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's what I meant. So, we get a domestic clash between me and Chris, and it's good for boxing, especially the British boxing fans, because some people don't want to travel out of the country. You know what I mean? Some people want to come to a stadium fight in the UK, you know, with two British fighters. So it's good for boxing. It's good for the fans, and I think it's going to be a very entertaining night for everybody. Everybody's going to get their money's worth. Between me and Chris, it's not a little bit of bad blood, but I feel like it's more of a competitive nature. And you've seen what you got in the first fight, and you're going to definitely get your money's worth in the next fight, for sure.
Before we wrap this up, do you have a parting message to each other? You're going to get a lot of this. I'm sure you've said everything that you need to say, but Chris, have you got anything that you want to say to Richard before we wrap up?
Stay injury-free, see a fight night.
Thank you.
Well, what a pleasant way to end things. We're going to break now for head-to-heads, and then everyone's going to be available for one-on-ones. Again, if everyone can just stay down. You say it, Ben Shalom.
Tickets on sale tomorrow. Already pre-sales gone through the roof. And, the biggest show in British boxing this summer on home soil.
And where can you get them from?
Crystal Palace and Boxer.com.
There you go. If everyone can stay down so everyone can get their shots, one-on-ones afterwards. But thank you very much for coming today.
You did the gloves are off with them yesterday, Johnny. And when these two get together in the same room, we saw it ringside a few weeks ago. I always feel like it's just teetering on the brink, isn't it? On the edge of the abyss, that something is really going to happen between them. Because Billam-Smith, I think, finds Riakporhe annoying. That's the vibe I get from him.
He does. I think Chris, he needs to, and he knows he needs to control this. He's the champion. And he's got to talk like a champion, walk like a champion, and fight like a champion. And so, therefore, when he's defending his position, when he's talking about Richard coming in and fighting for his title, he has to talk like this. He has to talk like he's not going out there with a begging bowl. You're coming for something that I want. The responsibility of being the champion is that just winning a title is not what it's about, because you lose it after second or third defence. You lose it because some people are not prepared for that responsibility. Chris has to now think like a champion, walk like a champion, act like a champion. There's not many world champions out there that truly believe they are the best fighter in the world. He now has to start acting like that and back it up with this kind of, that's how he's got to conduct himself.
And the reality is, when you're preparing for a world title defence, you have to assume that everybody you're facing has the same level of hunger that you had when you won it, the same level that he had against Lawrence Okolie. You know that if they're doing their job right, that is what is going to be coming out of the opposite corner at you, and that is no small undertaking.
And that's the responsibility I'm talking about. Most fighters think it's all about running up the hill and getting to the top. It's not. It's about staying at the top. And to stay at the top, you've got to have the same hunger you had when you was at the bottom of that hill, running up, digging in deep, wanting more. Now, what Richard is doing, Richard's got a big handsome smile on his face, and he's talking like, I've done this before, I'm going to do it again. He's got to do that. Chris Billam-Smith, I'm glad he's actually in this position, because again, it gives him that hunter's mentality. This is the only guy that's beaten him as a professional fighter. So therefore, if there's any nerves or fear in it, it's for Chris to say, and believe in himself, to say, I deserve to be here. This is that fight where he says, I deserve to be here. And this is where he'll go. He'll go up the hill and carry on and stay up there, or he'll fall short.
Speaking of that fight, it was a really close fight, and it was 5 years ago. So I think correctly, Billam-Smith is not reading too much into it. It's very different now for the pair of them, and I would agree with that. But it still matters to him, doesn't it? Because it's the only defeat on his record, and as a fighter, you want to avenge that. So the reward for him here is greater than it just being a successful defence of his world title.
Without a doubt. And most fighters, it burns when you get a loss, and you've got to learn from a loss to make you a better fighter, or it will ruin you as a fighter. And for Chris, he looks at what he's done, he looks at where Richard is, and he thinks, you know what, I'm doing well. So it's a good position to be in.
Okay, here he comes, the gentleman. Take it easy. We don't want any rolled ankles at this stage of proceedings. He just vaulted Ben Whittaker style, nimbly onto the stage beside us with the WBO strap over his shoulder. I was just saying to Johnny that when we get the pair of you together, you and Richard, it always seems to me like it's just on that tipping point of getting not out of control, but of some hard truths being exchanged, because I just get the feeling you actually find him quite irritating.
No, it's good fun. It's just good fun. And I've never been with someone against someone who trips themselves up so much, and I just like to remind him of that. That's all.
You did come out with a good line about trains being late, which I think got lost in translation there slightly, but I heard that. I appreciated it. Johnny was talking just before you came over about the mentality of being a champion, and you defended once, of course, against Masternak. This is a whole different kind of thing. How different are you mentally now, do you think, than you were this time last year?
Yeah, this time last year I hadn't won the world title, and you always have that belief, but you can never truly believe until you go through it and you achieve it, and just to cement it in place. And now that obviously I got to cement it in the fight against Lawrence in the stadium, and then against Masternak as well, who's a very, as I said before, the fight was a very, very hard fight, especially for myself in stylistically. So yeah, it's it's a huge amount of belief. So I'm a much different fighter, and I'm learning all the time.
Was it the fight with Lawrence, or is it this fight that will convince you that cement that belief inside you to think, you know what, I deserve to be here? Is it this fight, or was it the Lawrence fight?
No, I think it was the Lawrence fight, because I've seen people spar Lawrence. I've seen not in any of Lawrence's fight was he ever behind in a fight. It never looked like losing a fight. So then to go in there and beat him convincingly is a huge achievement for myself, and I think I only was able to do that because I'd shared the ring with him. So that gave me a huge amount of belief, because I know how dangerous he is. I know what he's like, how awkward he can be, but I knew I could do it, and I had to be on point. And so that for me would cement it, and that's what gives me the confidence going into this fight, knowing that I can do the same again.
How do you think Richard would fare against Lawrence? Your opinion, your personal opinion.
I think Lawrence, unless you've shared the ring with him, he's a hard night's work. I think Lawrence would win the fight. I believe that. I've said that before. I think Lawrence is, and especially because he's been there and he's had good fights against real tough opposition. He had better opposition than Richard has. I don't think Richard's really had the right tests up to this point. And this to be going into a world title fight, you could say that's due to him getting people out of there in his last few fights. But I think even the actual opponents haven't been good enough to bridge that gap between domestic and world level.
This version of you, I know you've done it before. This version of you, do you think this is Richard's biggest test in his career?
Absolutely, by a long shot.
One thing that happens when you become a champion is that people then start to theorise about what are your obvious weaknesses, how can you be dethroned, and the theory that seems to have arisen with you is that you take too many shots, it will catch up with you. I mean, have you been surprised at where that has come from? Because, I mean, you would have had this for 13 odd defences. That people do, don't they? They strategise, and people seem to have agreed almost that with Billam-Smith, he takes too many shots, it will catch up with him.
No, look, as well, when you actually look at it, and we look at it in the gym, like, Shane says I'm taking too many shots because they look worse than they feel in terms of shots, because I always just take a sting out of it. You can see him catch them last second and stuff like that, and then, or sometimes, they do land clean and it just looks eye-catching, but in my head it's not like I'm getting buzzed to my boots every time I'm getting hit. I haven't been buzzed to my boots in for a long time. Probably, I can't remember the last time I was properly buzzed and all over the place. Like, to be honest, it would have probably been when I'd had about 9 fights as an amateur.
I've never seen it as a pro.
Exactly, and I think that's the difference between someone getting hit a lot. You look at Carl Froch, like, he looked more buzzed in his career than I have so far, and he's got a phenomenal chin, and it never caught up with him. So I don't rely on it, but it's nice to know you've got it, and that's all another string to the bow.
It's an interesting one, that, though, isn't it, Johnny? Because on the way up, people will always question the fighter's chin. We'll question their chin until we know that they've got a solid chin, and then all of a sudden it's too solid, you're taking too many punches. You know, you've been on the end of this kind of, as I say, theorising. I guess you just have to shut it out.
It's not about being able to take it on the chin. It's about the amount of shots you take, because, you know, there's many fighters that, you know, you can walk through it. Chris has proven time and time again he can walk through his shots. Oh, listen, I'll admit, I thought Chris, you're taking the shots there, but his heart, his determination, his hunger has bust through bust through every one of his opponents and got him through there. Not many fighters have got that guts. Not many fighters have got that chin. Not many fighters have got that in their resume. And so that, if you're looking for the knockout, you know, I think you'll be looking for a long time in this fight. But it's going to be a hard, tough, painful fight, because both these guys can punch. Both these guys are going to be unbelievably fit, and both these guys have got far too much to lose for different reasons, which is why this fight will be so intriguing.
We all love a hard, tough, painful fight. Even him, and he's the one who has to get in there and do it. So we'll let you go. You've got plenty of major obligations. We'll see you again soon, I'm sure. Chris Billam-Smith, who defends that WBO World Cruiserweight title on June the 15th, outdoors at Crystal Palace. And with regard to the venue, Johnny, it's always really interesting to go somewhere different. It's a big ground, Selhurst Park. When I was starting off in this industry covering football, I used to go there quite a lot. And you can really generate an atmosphere in there too. It's an old school kind of ground. I'd imagine with the pitch as well, you could probably get about 30,000 in there. We'll see where we get to in terms of the sales, but the early signs are good. And it just gives it that different kind of flavour. We've been spoiled the last few years. We've done stadiums so many times, but it's always great to go somewhere new.
I'm old enough to remember, it's not that long ago, I'm old enough to remember when there was the talk of Carl Froch and George Groves at Wembley. And the initial talk was, no way, it's far too big. Are you mad? Why would you do something like that? Why would you take such a risk? I can't remember exactly how many people got in Wembley that night. I'm quite sure.
It's been lost in the mist of time.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying to you is, if a fight captures the imagination of the public, if a fight captures the imagination of the fans, Selhurst Park could be an absolute buzz. I remember when Kell boxed at the Sheffield United ground. What an atmosphere! It was mad. So I think Selhurst Park, great situation. What great place to fight. We've seen it time and time again. You've seen Tony Bellew box at his home ground in Edmonton. When you get a stadium fight, you've got a good crowd in. It can be mad. I don't know about numbers. I don't know what it can hold. I don't know how it will be. But I do think this fight can pack them out, and I do think tickets will fly out like they'll go good.
And as Ben Shalom said, Crystal Palace have played a big part in this, the football club. It's 100 years of Crystal Palace Football Club, and I know they've been really accommodating, and that this was something they really wanted to do, to get a big fight at the stadium. And just when you get there early on the day and you have a kind of walk around and you go backstage and you look at the changing rooms, and I always take the walk from the changing room around the side of the pitch and to the ring, just to kind of get a feel for what they're going to have to do and how long it's going to take. But it does mean that it's different, isn't it? It takes both fighters out of their comfort zone, because I remember seeing Billam-Smith rehearsing his ring walk last year because he wanted to know what it was going to be like, because visualisation is a big thing. And joining us now, the challenger, Richard Riakporhe, who will have been visualising a win on June the 15th for some time, I'm sure. I mean, it's here, isn't it? It's happening. We've been talking about, discussing the prospect of a fight at Crystal Palace for quite a long time. Did you always think this was definitely going to happen, or was there something in your head that made you think, God, this is just too perfect?
Yeah, you know what, to be honest, I didn't think that it would manifest, especially this quick. I thought I would end up winning a title, and then we would sit down and discuss me defending a title at Palace. But it's turned out better than I expected. And that's one thing that, you know, one mantra I live by. You know, things always turn out better than I expect it to turn out. This is why I'm always very optimistic in my life and everything I do, the way I think. And all of my friends would say the same.
Everything's about timing, isn't it, Johnny? Do you feel like the timing is perfect for him?
I think timing is everything. I think 5 years ago, these two guys were still sharpening their tools, coming through and going through experiences, both good and bad in their career. And I don't just mean in the ring, I mean outside the ring, learning the game in and outside the ring. Now Richard, Chris, both at a stage now where there's still learning to be done. But development and timing, this is why we're here again. So you might see a different style of fight. The fight might not last that long. The fight might be a lot harder, a lot tighter, because both fighters have developed. Now, one's done it officially, as in Chris Billam-Smith. He's officially put himself there and say, I'm a world champion. One is still in a position where I want to show you I am head and shoulders above you. So I want to show you how much I've developed, how much I've come on as a fighter. We've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen the development, and it's not just about what they do physically, it's how they are mentally, how their approach is, how they understand themselves and the game better. So I see growth in both fighters. So timing is everything. I agree with you, and I think this will probably be a better fight. No, it'll definitely be a better fight than it was the first time around.
Timing perfect?
Yeah, the timing's perfect, and I agree with Johnny. You know, mentally more than anything, we have leveled up. You can see it in Chris's aura, the way he talks. You can see it's not really a fake confidence, you know. And same as me, you can see it straight. You know, when you look into my eyes, I'm on it. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that I have what it takes, not just to win, but to put on an amazing performance that gets people talking. And this is not the pinnacle for me. You know, some people have like goals of just being world champion and calling it quits. No, this is the beginning. I want to move up a weight, and I've made that clear in a lot of the interviews I've done before. You know, I've always desired to be a heavyweight fighter, and I have the frame, I have the height, I have the power, and I believe this is what I'm going to do in the future. But we're going to focus on today and what's in front of me. And what's in front of me is a credible opponent in Chris Billam-Smith, and I have to deal with him. Once I deal with him, we can have those conversations. But I want to say a big thank you to Loughborough University. I remember I had a fight. I was just doing an interview just a minute ago, and you know, one of the guys that was working with me at that time, and it still is right now, Duncan. He told me, "Do you have a setup to become world champion right now?" He was like, "Be honest with yourself. Do you think you can actually compete at that?" I said, "No," and that was after me scraping a win in a close fight. And he said, "Then you need to change it." So we sat down, we devised a plan, and Loughborough have been with me ever since that day. And you can see by the performances I've been improving, and that's all I'm going to continue doing. And the last thing I want to say is a big thank you to Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace have showed me ridiculous amounts of love. You know, to somebody that's not used to being shown love as well, coming from my background. It's a weird feeling. It really is a weird feeling, and I want to repay the fans. I heard about the ticket sales as well. I heard it was crazy. Within the first hour, thousands of tickets have been sold, and it just shows the interest and the magnitude of the fight. We're respecting each other. We're not throwing no chairs and tables. You know, I'm an ambassador. You know, and we're not trying to paint that type of picture, but I guarantee you will see a fight and you will get your money's worth.
Okay, thanks very much. We'll leave it there. Great to see you. Saturday, June the 15th, outside in the open air of South London under those stadium lights at Selhurst Park. Chris Billam-Smith against Richard Riakporhe. Really good undercard as well to back it up. It will be all over Sky Sports that night, all over it in the build-up during the week too. So if you want to go along, there are still tickets available. You can get there in person. If not, we will join you then.